Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Dravida Prabhu Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Dravida Acharya Ashtotter the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Jai. Upadeshamrita ki jai. Shri Upadeshamrita ki jai. The nectar of instruction ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Varanga. Come on, before could you close this door? Thank you. Both doors. Yeah, both doors. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 27th day of August 2018 in SanDiego, we're reading from Sri Upadeshamrita, the Nectar of Instruction by Srila Rupa Goswami, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We're still in text number 2. Atyaharak priyasascha pajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyancha Shadbhim bhakti vinashyati Atyahara priyasascha Pajalpo niyamagraha Janasangascha laulyancha Shadbhim bhakti vinashyati Atyahara priyasascha Pajalpo niyamagraha Janasangascha laulyancha Shadbhim bhakti vinashyati. Atyaharak priyasascha Pajalpo niyamagraha Janasangascha laulyancha Shadbir bhakti vinashyati Satyahara prayasascha Sajalpo niyamagraha Janasangascha laulyancha Shadbir bhakti vinashyati Pratyahara priyasascha Pajalpo niyamagraha Janasangascha laulyancha Shadbir bhakti vinashyati. Pratyahara priyasascha Paljalpo niyamagraha Janasangascha laulyancha Shadbir bhakti vinashyati. Thank you. Okay, so we read these synonyms before, so I'll just read the translation. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. 1. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. 2. Over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3. Talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them, and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. Or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6. Being greedy for mundane achievements. Okay. So we'll pick up where we left off in that purport. Okay, hold on a second. Karmis, fruit of workers, Karmis, fruit of workers, labor to accumulate more and more money for future generations only because they do not know their future position. Interested only in getting more and more money for their sons and grandsons, such foolish persons do not even know what their position is going to be in the next life. There are many incidents that illustrate this point. Once a great karmi accumulated a vast fortune for his sons and grandsons, but later, according to his karma, he took his birth in a cobbler's house located near the building which in his previous life he had constructed for his children. It so happened that when this very cobbler came to his former house, his former sons and grandsons beat him with shoes. Unless the karmis and gyanis become interested in Krishna consciousness, they will simply continue to waste their life in fruitless activities. So that was laulyam. Then we have one of the next ones is niyamagraha. Accepting some of the scriptural rules and regulations for immediate benefit as utilitarians advocate is called niyama agraha, and neglecting the rules and regulations of the shastras, which are meant for spiritual development, is called niyama agraha. The word agraha means eagerness to accept, and agraha means failure to accept. By the addition of either of these two words to the word niyama, rules and regulations, the word niyamagra is formed. Thus, niyamagraha has a twofold meaning that is understood according to the particular combination of words. Those interested in Krishna consciousness should not be eager to accept rules and regulations for economic advancement. That they should very faithfully accept scriptural rules and regulations for the advancement of Krishna consciousness. They should strictly follow the regulative principles by avoiding illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance to him and all members of Sri Parampara. So the Subhadeshamrita, the nectar of instruction, very concise instructions for those who are eager to advance in devotional service. The assumption here is that one has come to the point of faith, some faith, as defined by Lord Chaitanya in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, in his instructions to Sanatana Goswami. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Suddha Nishjoy Krishna Bhakti Kole Sarva Karma Hoy. Which means that real genuine faith is in bhakti is characterized by the firm conviction that just by acting in Krishna consciousness, all of my aspirations will be fulfilled. I don't have to do anything else. Even for my maintenance and for a living, the activities I perform necessary for that can be also part of bhakti. Should be done in a devotional mood. So with that kind of basic faith, then we need to find out, like in any discipline, what to do and what to avoid. This is a basic principle of human life. If you want to become expert in something, you want to achieve some goal, then there are things that you need to do and things that you need to avoid. And this is called discipline, because oftentimes they involve some austerity, some sacrifice, and therefore we have to keep the goal in mind. And that's why the next verse will describe how we have to have enthusiasm and patience and determination. But here he's first giving us those things that will destroy our devotional service. And so he's covered several in the purport so far. Atyahara priyasascha. Now 2 of them, they're known as 6 things. Shadbir, vinashyati. Vinashyati means totally destroyed. If you embrace these things in too much, or you get involved too much, any one of them can destroy your devotional service. Let's speak of all of them. So the first one is ati ahara. Now ahara means to consume or to eat. But in general, it means that also to collect material things for consumption. Just like the capitalist system, they consider us consumers. You know, oftentimes less human beings than consumers. As long as they have some money to buy something, then they like you. Otherwise, they kick you out of the store, right? Or out of the apartment. So that's consuming, but it doesn't mean you're eating everything. But your each sense has a way of consuming. The eyes can consume beautiful forms, and the ears consume beautiful sounds, etc. So too much consuming, especially a food, that's one category, main category, that will destroy your devotional service. Why? Well, I was explaining at the beginning. One thing is it's unhealthy. You sleep too much. You get agitated sexually. It's a big distraction on your ability to chant and concentrate. We have experience. So ati ahara is certainly something we have to give up in that regard. And then accumulating too many material things, which also are a temptation to try to enjoy those things. So therefore, devotees try to live as simply as possible. As simply as possible, in order to save time and mental and physical energy for devotional service, and so as not to distract them. And priyasas, they go together. The hard labor for material things, even if you're not able to attain them, if you aspire for material things and you work very hard for them, then how can you use your energy in devotional service? You can see how that's such fun. Prajalpa. Prajalpa, the very means of advancement is absorption in transcendental sound, beginning with the holy name. So the opposite of that is material sound. Spiritual sound will exalt you, and material sound will degrade you. There's one verse in the 50th chapter, 3rd canto, that struck me very, very much when I read it. And this is, I think, spoken by Lord Brahma. And he says, who goes to Vaikuntha? There's a description of the kingdom of God, and then the question was, who gets to go there? Do we want to go? Yeah, we want to go, right? It's so attractive. It's described in the Bhagavatam. Beautiful environment there. The Lakshmis are cleaning the walls, even though there's hardly any dirt there, just to perform service to Vishnu. The bees are always humming, and Tulsi is there, and all of the other plants are exalting her. It's very attractive. So how can you go there? Here's who don't go. Yanna bhajant agabado vachananu bharat chunvanti yenya vishaya upatamatibhi yastu shrita hata bhagaya nibarata saras tang tang chapanta sadamesa, and so on. This is a verse worth memorizing. This kind of goes with the verse about the pilgrimage of crows. Yanna bhajant, they do not go, bhajanti, who agabidha. Agabidha is the name for Krishna, means he who destroys all sin, sinful reactions. Rachana, a word that means his activities or pastime. Anuvada. Anuvada means words describing the pastime. Shunvantiye anya vishaya. They listen to words that have as their subject matter other than Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Yanna bhajant agabado vachananava chinvandiyenya vishaya. Vishaya can mean many things. It means the object of the senses, or it means the subject matter of the book. So these other subject matters that have nothing to do with Krishna. Anya vishaya kukata. We know how wonderful Krishna Katha is. Katamrita. This is kukata. Means bad sounds, bad talks. Which is matigni. Who can guess what matigni means? You know what gna means? Yes, he knows the word. It destroys your intelligence. Your intelligence becomes destroyed by these mundane sounds. Yastu shrita, by hearing the sound, hata bhagaya, all of your good fortune is taken away, destroyed, nibba for a human being. Ata saras, and your very interest in the essence of life is taken away. Ata saras. Tang tang, those topics, tang themselves, tang tang chapanti, throw you down. Ashadaneshu, where you have no shelter, into darkness of hell amongst you. And the last word in the verse, hanta, alas. So that's the result of Prajalpa. That's a nice explanation of what happens with Prajalpa. So we have an abundance of transcendental sound. If you don't read anything, you don't know any shlokas, just chant Hare Krishna. You know that one. That alone is completely adequate to take you back to Godhead. The problem is the mind. The mind is hankering after the bitter taste, we take the sweet of the mundane sound. So that's part of the austerity, prajalpa, niyamagraha. So he's discussing the niyamagraha. Now that also expands into 2. So these 6 become 8. And Prabhupada explains it grammatically here. So when you have 2 words, one ends with an A, another begins with an A, they combine to form a long A, but you don't know whether that A in the beginning of the next word was a long or short A. You have to know by the context. So in this way it can be both niyama agraha or niyama agraha. So the most common one for us is niyama agraha, means not performing all of the niyamas, the rules and regulations. Doing A, B, C, and D, but not E and F and G. This is niyama agraha. And of course to give them all up is big niyama agraha. So, but then there's another one also, and that is niyama agraha, to be very enthusiastic to take up the processes, but not with the aim of advancement. There's 2 things. Prabhupada mentioned something else here, but this is a more common one for us anyway, is that you're going through the motions. You certainly don't want to be condemned, you don't want to be kicked out of the temple, so you go through the motions, but your mind is elsewhere. Your mind, you're really not into it. You're not thinking about the meaning of what's being said or so forth. You're just more or less there physically. And to one degree or another, you're not there with all of your consciousness. This is also niyama agraha. So that has to be guarded against. And Prabhupada also mentions here accepting rules and regulations for material motivations. Now that's a material motivation, to look good, and keep your status, but really not to advance in devotion. You're more or less given up on that. So that's another a creeping, problem is to kind of just go and be there physically, but your mind is elsewhere because of whatever reason, didn't get enough sleep or something you did the previous night or whatever. You ate too much, had a bad dream. So that the whole idea is to, as the famous sage said, be here now. Every syllable of the mantra you should be concentrating on. So that's the whole thing. The mind is wandering, so be here now. And the same thing is true for all of our functions that we perform, and our the practical devotional service also, is to focus on the meaning of it and the meaning of the words and be there fully. So, any questions or comments on Niyamagraha? Damodar Kumar Prabhu. Oh, what? Oh. Yeah, speak into the mic.
Hare Krishna. Just regarding the last phrase that you mentioned, that the great sages says, "Be here now, be present, hear the sound." Where is that from?
It's from Baba Ramdas in his book entitled "Be Here Now."
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. No, it's a very good, be here now. I mean, but concentrate on what you're doing. A very good instruction. Yes, no. Kalran Ji.
How was Prabhupada referring to utilitarian in relation to the purport? Because he mentioned that some time ago, or you mentioned or he mentioned it, utilitarian.
Utilitarian.
Yeah.
I think he uses that word to mean for material motivation.
Oh, okay.
That there's some material motivation that's crept into your devotion.
Mm-hmm.
So your reason for showing up,
Yeah.
Now the thing is that we have this principle, which I heard Maharaj say, Bhaktivinoda Tirtha Maharaj, fake it till you make it. So there's also a certain amount of kind of just show up, I remember way back in Brooklyn, they had me doing something with the bhaktas. And there was this bhakta, who later became a sannyasi and a guru, but he was a bhakta now. And he was standing there, and it was kirtan, I think it was Mangalartika. And I said, you should dance, Well, I don't feel like dancing. Well, just dance anyway. If you dance anyway, do a little something, then Krishna will inspire you. And so that's a lot of what we do is like that. You show up. The main thing is to show up, somehow be there in the association with devotees. And then so many things take place. You didn't think you'd like it, but you like it. You like parts of it. The mind is a very fickle thing going on. And by the association and by chanting somehow or other, hearing, not with full concentration, barely even knowing the word, Krishna in the heart, he gives. But totally, to maintain that utilitarian motive, the material motive is not good, and that will definitely, destroy your kripa. And unfortunately, that may happen, because the movement starts, nobody has any money, everybody's austere by default, and that's a good platform to be on. But as things go on, there are so many facilities to make money, so that money, that becomes a temptation then. So it becomes, so then before long you're going out just to collect the money, and then you decide, well, I can make a bigger margin by just doing stickers or jewelry, and the whole book distribution, you lose the thread. So that's the utilitarian motive.
How do people in general use that word utilitarian?
Utilitarian means very practical. In terms of the material things, how do we to have no overarching moral or aesthetic reason for it? Just how can we build something go from A to B? All right, let's go on. So then the next one is janasanga, means association with non-devotees. One should also avoid association with mayavadis, no problem, who simply blaspheme Vaishnavas, or devotees. Then there's another category, bhukti kamis, who are interested in material happiness, mukti kamis, who desire liberation by merging into the existence of the formless absolute Brahman, and siddhi kamis, who desire the perfection of mystic yoga are classified as atyaharis. So Prabhupada is mixing, he's showing there's a relation between here. To associate with such persons is not at all desirable. So he's going to go to Lalyam and talk about that. So just a quick comment on this. The muktikami, siddhikami. This seems to come from that verse by Lord Chaitanya where he's saying, who is peaceful? Who is peaceful in this world? The devotees. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ataeva Shanta. So the Krishna Bhakta who doesn't want anything for himself. This is the ideal of devotional service. Anyabhilashita shunyam, to be devoid of any other desire. But what's the one desire that we want to cultivate? A nice desire. Not really. That's to please Krishna. To please Krishna. This verse says Atyahara Priyasa it says Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma janavatam anukulena Krishna anushilanam bhaktiruttama. This is like the Paribhas Sutra of the whole movement. This is codifies it. So here he's defining pure devotion. So the first thing he says what it isn't. Anya abhilashita shunyam, devoid of any other desire. And then he gives examples. Jnana karmadi anavratam. Avrata means covered. Bhakti yoga can be covered, and also in the modes of nature. This is explained by Kapila Dev. You can come to the temple, which is good, just walking in, come to the temple, pray ardently to the deity, put in some Lakshmi into the box, and spend some time in the temple and then leave. But what's your motive in that? You're praying for something, for health or wealth or just good fortune in general, whatever. You want some ashirvad, some blessing, some benediction. That's not pure devotion. That's motivated devotional service. So that's covered. The form is there, but it's covered and adulterated by karma, by material desire. There's also the desire for mukti. This is explained in the commentary of the first verse of the Bhagavatam by Sridhar Swami. Second verse. Dharma projita kaita votra. You've heard of that kaita the dharma, right? Cheating religion. Cheating religion means that there's religion there. There's mantras being chanted, there's deities being worshipped, there's all kinds of things going on. But the motive is material. And that even up to the point of mukti. That's why Lord Chaitanya says, Nadanang Nadananda Sundanim in Mama Janmani Janmani. As soon as he says that, it implies he's not begging for liberation. So there's muktikami, and then there's siddhikami. Prabhupada uses this word. These are people, these individuals. A kami is one who has kama, and desire for those powers. Sometimes I don't have to worry about that, right? That's probably true, because we're not even familiar with them, and we certainly don't think we're going to spend time. But you can imagine if you practiced yoga for many, many years, and you began to get some of those mystic powers, and you can do a little astral travel, and whatever, and you're not aging, you're still 30, you look like you're 30, you have to be 70. So that's pretty attractive, isn't it? In other words, that can be, it certainly distracts you from the mood of pure devotion. So that's what the Prabhupada is talking about here, and it's in the category, Prabhupada says, of atyahara. Now this is very interesting. In other words, collecting too much. Certainly you can see how the yogis, want to collect too much. They get a little power. Who was that one? I'm not going to name names. Who was able to produce a little ash? Right? He was very famous at a certain point. So how can I monetize it? Well, maybe I'll go to America, right? Or I'll just get on the internet. In other words, it's very easy to become corrupted when your motive is some kind of material thing, even if it's mukti. Then that's a material desire, and along with the mukti, well, before I get mukti, why don't I enjoy? Mukti is very attractive to people who are suffering a lot, But for people who are enjoying and relaxing, you understand? So all of these things are symptoms of atyahara. If you consume too much or you just want them, laulyam is the greed, but you can't, you don't have them yet. All of that is destructive because everything depends on your motive. It's all your motive in Krishna consciousness. That's what's going to push you in a certain direction of activity, and that will determine your fate in your next life, is what you want. Desiring to expand the mind by perfecting mystic yoga, merging into the existence of Brahman, or attaining whimsical material prosperity are all included within the category of greed. So now Prabhupada's saying they're all related. Laulyam, remember that was one to give up too. All attempts to acquire such material benefits or so-called spiritual advancement are impediments on the path of Krishna consciousness. And all of them, of course, are furthered by janasanga, by associating with those who are bhukti-kamis, siddhi-kamis. You'll become like them. The mind takes on whatever it's exposed to. Modern warfare waged between capitalists and communists. Not me. No. Modern warfare waged between capitalists and communists is due to their avoiding the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami regarding atyahara. Modern capitalists accumulate more wealth than necessary, and the communists, envious of their prosperity, want to nationalize all wealth and property. Unfortunately, the communists do not know how to solve the problem of wealth and its distribution. Consequently, when the wealth of the capitalists falls into the hands of the communists, no solution results. Opposed to these two philosophies, the Krishna conscious ideology states that all wealth belongs to Krishna. Thus, unless all wealth comes under the administration of Krishna, there can be no solution to the economic problem of mankind. Nothing can be solved by placing wealth in the hands of the communists or the capitalists. If a $100 bill is lying on the street, someone may pick it up, put it in his pocket. Such a man is not honest. Another man may see the money and decide to let it remain there, thinking that he should not touch another's property. Although the second man doesn't steal the money for his own purposes, he's unaware of its proper use. The third man, who sees the $100 bill, may pick it up, find the man who lost it, and deliver it to him. This man does not steal the money to spend for himself, nor does he neglect it and let it lie in the street. By taking it and delivering it to the man who has lost it, this man is both honest and wise. Simply transferring wealth from capitalists to communists cannot solve the problem of modern politics, for it has been demonstrated that when a communist gets money, he uses it for his own sense gratification. The wealth of the world actually belongs to Krishna, and every living entity, man and animal, has the birthright to use God's property for his maintenance. When one takes more than his maintenance requires, be he a capitalist or a communist, he is a thief, and as such he is liable to be punished by the laws of nature. Speaking of being punished by the laws of nature, the whole world has become capitalist. Communism is practically a dead philosophy now, although some may claim to be. So whether it's China or USA, the same idea of exploiting nature and building up a big technological society and the standard of living going up and cars everywhere and big buildings and all that is given because the possibility is there of doing it. The technology has been produced. All we have to do is get enough money to buy it and then so forth like that. So this is fatal for the earth. I mean, those who are a little intelligent can see that. You know, these incredible weather things that are going on now, whether it's Hawaii or Houston. I'm supposed to go to Florida next month. The heart of the hurricane season. You remember last year? There was like a hurricane that unusual came right up the whole peninsula. Usually when it gets to land, you know, it gets much weaker. But this thing was so powerful and big that it created havoc in the whole peninsula. And who knows what's going to happen this time. And already, you know, because of the warming and the melting of all the ice in Greenland and the Arctic and all these things, the ocean is actually rising. And it doesn't rise. It's not like a bathtub where it rises the same. It rises a little more in different parts of the ocean. Yeah. And then one of those places is South Florida. I used to live on Miami Beach for 6 years in the 80s. We never had this phenomenon. Sun is shining, bright as anything, but this flood is coming on the street. The water is coming from underneath, from the ocean, The whole thing is like on this limestone. It's not even solid rock. So now they have to spend billions of dollars to raise the streets, a foot, 2 feet. That's the solution. That's just the start. And so that's a result of greed. That's a result of laulium. And that's fully embraced by the powers that be, to the point of madness. Where you have the climate is giving you so many signs. 98% of the scientists are telling you, yes, we have to keep the temperature down here. We have to stop burning these fossil fuels. But they won't stop because the greed has overtaken them. It's a kind of a madness at the top. So who knows what the fate of the earth is going to be. I mean, there's some people predicting now that human beings will be extinct by 2026. That's not so far away. So there is the instruction, Live simply, find your pleasure within by chanting Hare Krishna, and organize society simply according to Varnashram. And if everyone lives simply and is satisfied with the devotional service, then this whole craziness can be, mitigated. But we'll see what happens. All right, any questions so far? Robert's getting into some socioeconomics here. The wealth of the world should be used for the welfare of all living entities, for that is the plan of Mother Nature. Everyone has a right to live by utilizing the wealth of the Lord. When people learn the art of scientifically utilizing the Lord's property, they will no longer encroach upon one another's rights. Then an ideal society can be formed. The basic principle for such a spiritual society is stated in the first mantra of the Sheesh Upanishad, which used to be, everyone used to know that. Let's see if we can chant it. I don't know. Ishavashamidam sarvam yat chinchat jagat yam jagat tena chaktena bunjita magradha kasya svidhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Krishna-conscious devotees know very well that this material world is designed by the complete arrangement of the Lord to fulfill all the necessities of life for all living beings, without their having to encroach upon the life or rights of one another. This complete arrangement affords the proper quota of wealth for everyone according to his real needs, and thus everyone may live peacefully according to the principle of plain living and high thinking. Unfortunately, materialists who have neither faith in the plan of God nor any aspiration for higher spiritual development misuse their God-given intelligence only to augment their material possessions. They devise many systems, such as capitalism and materialistic communism, to advance their material position. They are not interested in the laws of God or in a higher goal, always anxious to fulfill their unlimited desires for sense gratification. They are conspicuous by their ability to exploit their fellow living beings. Let's finish this purport. When human society gives up these elementary faults enumerated by Srila Rupa Goswami, Atyahara, etc., all enmity will cease between men and animals, capitalists and communists, and so forth. In addition, all problems of economic or political maladjustment and instability will be solved. This pure consciousness is awakened by the proper spiritual education and practice offered scientifically by the Krishna consciousness movement. This Krishna consciousness movement offers a spiritual community that can bring about a peaceful condition in the world. Every intelligent man should purify his consciousness and rid himself of the above-mentioned 6 hindrances to devotional service by taking wholehearted shelter of this Krishna consciousness. So I can see why Prabhupada wanted this book distributed widely. It's much more than just an instruction book for devotees. He's also dealing with some very broad-based topics here. Okay, next Monday we won't do it because it's Janmashtami. Not on this. Someone will give a class about Krishna's appearance, and maybe me, maybe someone else. But eventually we'll take this up when there's a vacant Monday. I think a week from Monday will probably happen. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.